For the uninitiated, who is Rick Rubin? Rick Rubin is a very famous music producer, arguably legendary. He co-founded Def Jam Records. He was also co-president of Columbia Records for a time. He's worked with a ton of different artists in a ton of different genres. I'm talking Slayer, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Metallica, System of a Down, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, the Dixie Chicks, the Beastie Boys, LL Cool J, Run DMC, and Public Enemy. His catalog is absolutely insane. He has a hell of a legacy to leave with us. What he's given to us in music and his input and his output, I would say, is irreplaceable. But holy moly, is his Twitter account cringe? Let's get into it. All right, so usually Twitter looks like I typed out a statement, I sent it out, and that statement is either something that's politically charged and really stupid and has zero utility other than galvanizing your existing agreeable people, or dumb memes, or statements that are so dumb and simple that everyone will like it, and that is a clout generator. But you know, you tweet out from your account, you see who tweeted it, because your name's there, right? Rick Rubin takes these quotes that he attributes to himself, makes an image out of them, makes sure that the image credits him as the person that's being quoted, and posts it. Now, he doesn't just leave the post there, he leaves it up for about 24 hours, then deletes it, as if he's trying to make it a scarce resource in order to give it more gravity than what it already is supposed to have, right? If it's that valuable, why not leave it up? Gather your host, I'd rather be haunted. The things that he's attributing himself to are many times just like passed down wisdom through the ages or just plain fucking dumb. I'm gonna start out with some of the more agreeable ones that I think are like, okay, this is decent. Work as hard as you can to be able to share it. I don't find this incredibly useful, though I would say it's a good sentiment. In my opinion, it's putting emphasis on the fact that art was meant to be shared. It's being made so that you can share it. If you don't interpret it that way, it's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Up until the time you let go of the work, you can still improve it. So letting go is just a moment in time, an accurate representation of where you were in that instant. I think that's a pretty cool observation. I've definitely heard that somewhere else before, but it's not something I hear extremely often, and I think it's something cool to keep in mind. It allows the artist, who a lot of times becomes very obsessive about trying to make it perfect and not embarrass themselves by releasing something they consider or someone else considers below standard, it gives them that opportunity to let go and just be like, this is who I am right now. It may not be perfect, but it could be good enough. And framing it that way, also from a listener perspective, takes you on a journey of the growth of this artist. This is also pretty cool. So I don't know why he feels like he needs to credit himself with this, but at the same time, I think it's cool to keep that in mind. When editing, practice non-attachment. Okay, I agree with this. How in the fuck can you credit yourself with this? I think it's good advice. I think it's stuff that people need to hear, especially younger people, or people that are just a little bit too much of control freaks. But there's zero fucking way you're the first person to discover this, Rick. It's kind of weird and self-aggrandizing to credit yourself with that statement. Reduce your work to the absolute essentials you can't live without. I'm pretty sure what he's trying to say here is reduce the music, the art that you're making to its absolute essentials. And he doesn't say this, but exaggerate those essentials. There is a wisdom in this style of art creation. I'll give him that. If you look at it outside of the music perspective, you can also say to yourself, this is how I remove all of the things that I don't like to do or am not very good at. That advice is easier said than done to execute. It's something I'm still working on myself, but still very good advice. Again, don't know that he should be crediting himself with this. We connect when we hear someone who believes what they are saying. Even if we don't agree, belief is beautiful. Okay, this one, I think I get what he's trying to say, but the verbiage does not make me agree with him. We can more easily connect when we hear someone who we believe that they believe what they're saying. And the capacity for human beings to have belief is a beautiful thing. I agree with that. But if Hitler says, I'm going to massacre the Jews and genocide them, I believe him, but that's horrifying. That's not beautiful. Test your rules. Excellent advice. This is the foundation of the progression of scientific knowledge. When you have things that we call rules, where they're reproducible and they work, those are very useful to make a lot of progress, but they are not necessarily an embodiment of the actual truth. You may be missing a certain level of nuance. Testing your rules, pushing them to their extremes, shows you where your blind spots are. Testing your rules is an appeal to humility. I love it. I doubt that he should credit himself with this. I don't think he's the first person to come up with this idea, but okay. The artist may not always be the maker. It may be the person who sees the piece and recognizes the art in it. I don't know if I fully agree with this, but I think it's a very cool observation. People can see art in places where you would have never intended it.
I turned to science because I thought it would be different than music, but it isn't. It's just the same. It's just as much of an art as anything else. You're an artist, Major. Maybe the best I've ever seen.
But if a monkey accidentally, by chance, made Shakespeare, is that actually art? Because the monkey didn't intend to make Shakespeare. And that's where I would say there might be a facet of artist intention that needs to be accounted for. I do not have a fully formed point of view on this at the moment, but it's something I'm working on. Either way, this is not terrible. I think it's an interesting point of view to get out there in the world. Aiming at greatness is different than aiming at being better than somebody else. Rick Rubin. Oh, wait, did you mean Jordan Peterson? Because that's a Jordan Peterson quote. He actually said it a shitload better than you. He said, don't compare yourself to who somebody else is today. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday.
Number 4 is compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today.
That is far more specific and a shitload more useful. And guess what? Jordan Peterson didn't credit himself with that, but you credited yourself with this. Okay, Jordan Peterson, let's move on. All right, now I'm gonna go into okay, they might be true statements, but they're so fucking obvious that how can you attribute this to you? Sometimes what you want your project to be and what it is are not the same thing. Grand revelation, Rick. If you've worked on an art project or multiple art projects and you're over the age of 21, you kind of get this concept. I don't know who this is aimed towards. This is something you hear all the time, and Rick Rubin should not credit himself with this. Whether it took months or minutes does not matter. Thank you so much for your legendary wisdom. I think most music creators know when they hear something that catches their ear, they go, ooh, that's really cool. Doesn't matter how long it took them. I don't know why you're including this. I think most people who are not classical or prog snobs would just agree with this statement outright. We're not working with labor theory of value here. If it's your best in this moment, that's the best it can be. Tomorrow, your best may be completely different. I mean, it's kind of obvious, but it's also just kind of wrong. If it's your best in this moment, that's the best it can be. Maybe, unless someone's helping you, then it can be better. That's why people, work in teams. You don't say anything about working in teams in any of your fucking grand quotes. Of all the projects you worked on and all this fucking grand wisdom you've accumulated through all of your experiences, don't you think talking about teamwork might be fucking important? Tomorrow, your best may be completely different. He's basically just trying to say, let go and see what you can do tomorrow once you've gone as far as you can today. That's fine. Kind of useless. The work reveals itself as you go. It tells you what it wants to be. Oh, so lofty, so mystical. Yes, as you work on something and you get the perspective of seeing it in real life as opposed to imagining it as an ideal, yes, it changes how you're going to work on something. This is the equivalent of Michelangelo saying, I saw the statue trapped within the marble and I released him. I freed him. So why are you crediting yourself with someone else's idea? I don't know. Whatever, Rick. So much of the creative act is critical judgment or editing. No shit, Sherlock. Again, it's a basic understanding of art and of creation. So how are you crediting yourself with this? Just tweet it like a normal fucking bastard. There really aren't any rules, just tools to help you make the best decisions. Yes, one of the earliest things you hear as an artist is, Here are things that other people have used to be successful, but there aren't any actual rules. It's obvious. Again, why are you crediting yourself with this? Tell the truth as you understand it. Jordan Peterson. Tell the truth as you understand it is Rick Rubin's shitty way of saying the better Peterson quote. Tell the truth, or at least don't lie.
Rule number 8, tell the truth or at least don't lie. This has been a sort of theme of everything we've been talking about.
Well, telling the truth is hard, because you have to know the truth. And that's hard. But you can know when you're lying.
Telling the truth as you understand it, you could be very wrong, and I'm sure Rick Rubin understands that. He's probably trying to give advice to artists to be as true and honest as possible. But again, this is not your original idea. Sometimes the content comes first, other times the structure takes the lead. This is just randomly describing two different creative processes for no reason. Like, sure, it's right. How is this helpful in any way? Who was this not apparent to in the first place? Attitude is everything. If you expect a project to go a certain way, it's easy to get frustrated. Yes, attitude and how you execute something always changes the fruits of your labor. Again, if you're over the age of 21 and aren't just a completely lazy piece of shit, I feel like this is pretty basic stuff. Now let's get to the supreme cringe. Expression lights up different parts of the brain, giving you access to more of yourself. I'm gonna repeat that. Expression lights up different parts of the brain, giving you access to more of yourself. Okay, expression can be interpreted pretty much as any action that you take. Taking an action lights up your brain or different parts of your brain. Okay, sure, that's not helpful. Giving you access to more of yourself. What the fuck are you talking about? Whether you like it or not, you are constantly always expressing yourself. So you're getting constant access to more of yourself. What the fuck are you on about, man? This makes no sense. This is mystic thinking, head up ass syndrome. Creativity is something you are, not something you do. Fucking dumb as fuck. Creativity is something you are. No! Creativity is a noun. I am a person. I am tangible, existing in the world. Creativity is an abstract concept. I am not creativity. Creative, the adjective, is something I am, not something I do. I get the heart of what you're trying to say, but it's also real fucking banal. And I'll do you one better. Creativity is doing something different. Innovation is doing something better. And unlike your clown ass, I'm not crediting myself with it. I heard it at some fucking marketing conference that my sister goes to. And unlike your thinly veiled barstool wisdom, mine's actually fucking useful. Do you want to just do it for the sake of doing it differently? Or do you want to do something different because you want to do something better and help people? That's innovation. We have a work principle in the studio. Demonstrate it, don't explain it. The fucking irony. Your Twitter account is literally shittily explaining things constantly and then deleting it the next day. See your work as if it's your first time, just like the audience gets to experience it. No shit, Sherlock. How is this helpful? Anyone who has made something, shared it with someone else, and that other person didn't like it as much as you liked it yourself, that you learn that when you're fucking 10. What would be more useful is demonstrating how to do it. Trying to pull down the walls and listening to something as if you'd never heard it before is really fucking difficult. Now, if your advice is sometimes you need to step away from a project or a mix for 3 months and come back to it with fresh ears, I also would agree with that. But I learned that like day 2 in the studio. This is not shit you should attribute to yourself. Only after gathering all the material can a deadline be useful. That's just fucking wrong. Sometimes creating a deadline before you have the material gets your ass in gear and motivates you to get the fucking material. Just blatantly off. The essence is an organizing principle. I'll repeat that. The essence is an organizing principle. If this is in reference to his earlier tweet about breaking things down to their base essentials of your work, how the fuck is that an organizing principle? What the fuck is essence? And what does essence have to do with organization? If you're saying understanding the essence of something will help you determine how to organize it, okay, that makes sense. Your motivation, your end goal of what you want to get across will determine your logistics on how to execute that. Sure. The essence is not an organizing principle. You can choose to organize it completely fucking differently. You are intentionally being super fucking vague in order for people to read into what you're saying more than they need to, because then they'll think you're wise. They'll think you're a sage, right? When you're just poking people with the head of your dick is basically what you're doing, intellectually speaking. What makes artists great is their ability to access that which we all have and cannot always access on our own. Again, this intentionally vague shit. What is it that artists help us access? The beautiful, beauty, which to us connects directly to meaning. This isn't me just making shit up. This is psychological. This is real. Let me rephrase this with one word that will provide so much more that's helpful to you, the audience. What makes artists great is their ability to access beauty, which we all have and can't always access on our own. That's a great statement. Still don't know that I would accredit it to Rick Rubin. Again, Perlovsky for days, everybody. Read Perlovsky. By your own logic, artists would help us access belief, which helps us access the beautiful by proxy, because belief is beautiful, right? So why don't you just fucking say that? Why don't you just fucking say that? Artists help us access belief, and belief is beautiful. Ergo, artists help us access beauty. I don't even know that I fully agree with that statement, but that makes a shitload more sense than you're fucking filleting yourself. If you're listening or speaking, either way, you're participating in the conversation. What the fuck? Who cares about this? Belief carries disproportional energy. Okay. If we're going back to, we connect when we hear someone who believes what they're saying, even if we don't agree, belief is beautiful. If we're relating it to that statement, I can see why he would say belief carries disproportional energy. But why would you say something redundant? Saying that we connect to someone that we believe and that's beautiful already kind of says what I think you're trying to say in this statement, which is that belief is efficacious. Belief is prime. But you don't say that. You use this pseudo-spiritual bullshit, carries disproportional energy. Think less, do more. Well fucking done, Rick. I'm so incredibly proud of you for discovering this axiom. Rick Rubin, sage of all centuries. Some people can see the end the day they begin. Others can't see the end until it's upon them. Neither is better than the other. Fucking false. If you're trying to say from an artistic perspective, it's okay not to know where you're going on the creative journey, there is some truth in that. But like we talked about with your attitude statement, the attitude in which you go into something is directed by a purpose. That purpose creates a more concrete visualization of that purpose that you can grab onto and use to move forward. That, paired with competency, is far better than not knowing where the fuck you're going. If you don't know where you're going and you're willing to be taken in any direction, you're a sheep. Being a human being with agency is far better than being a sheep, creatively speaking. Look, if he would just tweet this shit out instead of taking the time to generate a fucking image and credit himself with every single one of these nuggets of dog shit, I wouldn't care. I'd get over it. It'd just be, I don't know, a normal Twitter account. But he self-aggrandizes by making these images, deleting them after 24 hours. It's like, who the fuck do you think you are? I get it. You are an incredible producer. You're probably a really smart guy, probably a really nice guy. And honestly, you have some great advice and wisdom to give people. This ain't it. Like, if this is how you handled Metallica on the Death Magnetic thing, kind of explains a little bit, in my opinion. Here, watch, Rick. I can do your job for you with making these shit quotes. Remember, you are the one that produced Death Magnetic, and everyone bitched about how horrible that mastering was. Objectively, fucking ear cancer mastering. But you were just the producer. You didn't master this yourself. So here's my quote for you, Rick. Producers don't master, but masters produce. Hippie hobo Marx. Just send tweets out via text like fucking normal people. Thanks. Stop!